Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on safe digital transactions online. It's part of Get Safe Online's monthly webinars that we host on a monthly basis. And I would like to thank you once again. With us, we have Sarah Sori-Cookson, who is the Communications Director for Get Safe Online. Sarah, welcome. I think you're
Thank you, Diana.
Sarah.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks, Diana.
Great. Also with us, we have Christian Kajeneri, who is the Senior Manager, FinTech Strategy, Products and Services, Mobile Money Rwanda Limited. Christian, great to have you.
Thank you, Diana. Great to be here as well.
We also have with us Rosemary Ingabire, who is the Senior Manager, who is the Cybersecurity Manager at Equity Bank. Rosemary, great to have you.
Thank you, Diana. Happy to be here as well.
Great. We have with us Deborah Uwera, finally, who is here as on behalf of the Central Bank of Rwanda. Her position is Senior Inspector, Bank Supervision. Deborah, great to have you here.
Thank you, Diana. Glad to be part of this discussion.
Thank you. To our participants who are joining, thank you for coming through. This is a webinar on safe digital transactions during the festive period. And I'm very happy to welcome our guests who are here. And just by way of information, we're going to listen to a panelist and have a Q&A session later. And if you want to say something, please just raise your hand and we will read your questions out, or you can put them in the chat box that you see in front of you. Thank you very much, everyone. And I would like to go to the first question. The first question is to Sarah. Yes, the first question is to Sarah. And Sarah, I would like to know, Get Safe Online has worked with over 19 countries since 2005, providing unbiased, factual, and easy to understand information on online safety. When it comes to digital and online transactions, Sarah, if you could share with us, what are some of the most common attacks in the countries that you've worked in, and how can people protect themselves? Over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Diana. Yeah, it's a great topic. And just before I sort of start, I was just going to highlight, we've got the getsafeonline.org.rw website, and there's a whole section actually on shopping, banking and payments, which is really helpful. So I'll give you some thoughts now, but if anybody wants to see more, there's plenty on the website there that might be helpful. And obviously you can follow us on Facebook at Get Safe Online Rwanda, where we're regularly putting out advice really on this sort of thing. Talking about sort of online and safe transactions online, I was trying to think of the sorts of scams that we're seeing across the Commonwealth countries where we operate, and including here in Rwanda. One scam that is sort of really prevalent at the moment that has just sort of come out of nowhere a little bit is a WhatsApp scam, actually, with a financial transaction associated with it. So what happens is you receive a message on WhatsApp, and it claims to be from your son, daughter, brother, sister. And it says, this isn't my normal number because I've had to change my phone, but please, can you send me a relatively large sum of money quite quickly because I really, really need it. And they really play on that sort of emotional tie. So it's your son, it's your daughter, allegedly. And what happens is people then send the money quite quickly because they feel they want to help somebody that they love. And then they find out that actually when they speak to them later, it wasn't a message from them and they've been scammed out of a financial money, which is obviously really frustrating and upsetting. So that's one that we're seeing across the globe at the moment that's really taking hold. So that's one to really look out for at the moment. Looking at the more sort of classic financial scams, what do we see where? I think buying online from ads on social media is a real one to watch out for, to be cautious of. You know, you see an ad, you know, discounted price on a jacket you want or an electronic item, and you get very excited and then click through and pay through the ad. Actually, what you should do is, okay, you've seen something you like, it's caught your attention, go out of the ad, go to the website where it's from, check it's a reputable website, it's the right website, and then make the payment through the actual website rather than through the ad. You know, there is a risk that the ad could be fake, and obviously if you then make the payment, it could go to the fraudsters or the scammers, etc., rather than actually buying what you believe you're buying. How do you check a website is genuine? We always say look at the web link, and if it's got HTTPS, that should be a sign that it will be a genuine website. Another thing to look out for, although occasionally this isn't always the case, is see if there's an address on the website, so it sort of proves that the company is legitimate, that they've got a website address. Is there a telephone number that you can call them on if there's an issue with what you're purchasing, for example? So that's another way to check if a website's genuine as you're making a purchase. I was trying to think of an example. I've got a friend here in the UK actually that brought a school bag in the summer for her daughter on a Facebook ad, because her daughter shared it and said, can I get this one? And she's still waiting for it now, and it's sort of nearly Christmas. So, you know, it's very easy to do. So go to the genuine website, make sure it's genuine, and you're much less likely to be scammed. Looking at financial scams, the other area of interest to us always is buying on shopping platforms such as eBay or Facebook Marketplace. You know, always check the seller's history before you actually make the transaction or purchase. You know, anyone with no history or negative history, probably best to avoid. Look for sellers that have got 90% positive reviews. That should give you sort of reassurance that it should be fine as a payment. When buying items through these sorts of platforms, try and use PayPal. That gives you extra protection, so you're not actually giving away any of your banking details to the person you're buying from. And try not to go, or don't go out of the platform where you're purchasing. So if you try to buy a product and they ask you to make a direct bank transfer, usually that's a warning sign, as in that's not safe. You could finally make the bank transfer and then actually you never see the item that you're trying to buy, and you lose your money. So stick to the platform, buy through the eBay or Facebook Marketplace platform, use PayPal, and that will give you reassurance of a safer transaction. And then there are three sort of golden rules. I was trying to think about financial payments, digital transactions that we all do. Whatever you're buying, whatever the financial payment is, stop and think before you make the payment. You know, it's quite often when we're rushing that we sort of accidentally fall prey to a scam. So just, you know, when you're making a financial transaction, just, is this genuine? Am I happy with the website that I'm on? And if you've got any doubt, do all the checking. You know, if you have doubt, it might well be a scam. Second tip, our CEO always talks about this as a tip with financial transactions, which is, I think, it's really good. If you're making a large transaction and you've been given the banking details and you're about to make the transaction, do a much smaller amount. So say 1,000 Rwandan francs to the details, to the bank account that you believe you're paying the larger amount to, and check with the recipient that it's all well received. If they've received those 1,000 Rwandan francs, then you're like, okay, it's genuine, it's going to the right bank account, and then make your fuller payment. And that just gives you a reassurance. You're checking before you send a larger amount that you are sending it to the right place. And finally, when you're making a payment, try and take emotion out of the decision making when making a rushed payment. And I'm thinking about that WhatsApp scam that I shared with you earlier, but also we see across the Commonwealth a lot of romance fraud. So people chatting to people online, and then suddenly they're asked to send a lot of money because they need it for some reason. You know, step back, you know, is it genuine? Should I check with someone else that this really needs to be sent before you make it? Does it sound right? You know, is there anything you can do to check before you're making the payment? Is always a good guidance, good advice. But there's lots more on our website, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what our other panelists have to say too. So I hope that's helpful, and thanks, Diana.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Yeah, thank you. That was quite comprehensive. Thank you for sharing that with us. And we'll definitely be hearing more on that front shortly. For the participants who I can see coming in, just a quick reminder of why we're here today. The webinar is Safe Digital Transactions During the Festive Season. Many of us are entering the festive season. Now more than ever, we rely on you know, online payments, mobile money, wallets, as we progress, especially in Rwanda, to a country that is focused on being a cashless economy. So a lot of purchases will be made online on digital platforms. But also during this period, there's also an increase in cyber attacks or cyber fraud regarding online and digital payments. And the purpose of this is to highlight the most common forms of cyber fraud that affect online and digital payments, as well as promote awareness on how Rwandans can protect themselves from these attacks. And that's why we're here today. My next question is to you, Christian. Christian, I would like to talk about mobile money. A lot of Rwandans here use mobile money, make transactions and payments digitally. And you know, Mobile Money Rwanda was established on 27th April 2021 to provide mobile money services, to manage mobile money services in Rwanda. The number of mobile registered accounts in Rwanda was close to 16 million as of 2019. This is a rise of approximately 43.9% compared to the previous year in 2018. If you could just tell us, what are some common mobile money scams in Rwanda, especially during the festive season, and what can mobile money users do to protect themselves? Over to you, Christian.
Oh, thank you, Diana. Thank you for the opportunity. We're very happy to be here because we believe in mobile money. The biggest challenge that we have is digital literacy gap, and we face a lot of frauds. And I'll try and highlight. I managed to preparation to this call. I managed to compile the list of frauds that we meet in our company. The list got up to 14 types of security breaches or fraud. The first one, I'll mention a few to your question where you say which one mostly recurrent in festive period. The first one is authentication attack. Is privacy where people lose their PIN or they misplaced it or they share it. You know, when someone calls you, say, oh, please give me your PIN, I want to withdraw, and then you forget. Maybe when you're sharing it, someone is next and they can affect your balance. Because today, what the central bank is trying to do is to control how much you are sending P2P transfer. I think today when you have a KYC with your national ID is limited to 500 per transaction and 1 million per day. However, they don't control how much you keep on your account. So it gives you at least time whenever you see any suspicious transaction to ask for a reset. The second one that is common is identity theft. So that's where people most of the well-established mobile money offices, where we have so many staff, and sometimes you have other people coming, they get access to your identity, national ID. The third one, for the sake of time, is the current situation is USSD vulnerability. We still all know that our mobile smartphone penetration is below 13%, which means for a population of 13 million, almost 13 millions, we have around 150K or 130K smartphones. Let's say 200. I know the government is working hard on it, but what's the vulnerability that we have on USSD without making it so difficult is that you cannot encrypt the data that is being processed, and the verification process is still an issue. There are so many other issues that we can get. There's denial of service attack, there is brutal force, there's so many. But for the purpose of not boring everyone on this call, I decided to pick these ones. The most recurrent and the most frequent are this one: identity theft, authentication attack, and the USSD vulnerability, which is being solved by the smartphone penetration, because then you have different features. You can do 3D authentication, 2D security layer, different ways of controlling. And then it also solved actually 90% of the list of the 14 that I mentioned: malware, mobile phones vulnerabilities, and all that. Thank you. Over to you, Diana.
Christia, just very quickly, I don't know if you can hear me. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, Diana, I can hear you.
Sorry, I'm having an issue with my earphones. Can you give us a couple of tips? How can people protect themselves? Just 2 or 3 tips. I know you mentioned them briefly, but you were listing the common forms of mobile money scams. But if you could give some tips on how people can best protect themselves, especially as we go into the festive season.
I think the most basic is to protect your PIN. That is one. The second, if you want to protect yourself, always be suspicious. I think Sarah mentioned it. We live in an era where malware attacks or different attacks come to your social platforms, and mostly they go into your emotional part of your social life. We live, well, I don't know if you guys have watched Cambridge Analytics. Unfortunately, most people that are educated today, they understand what we're saying, and we're saying this in English. I think 90% of the population that are not on this call that's speaking Rwanda, if not 80, they're the most vulnerable. And we tried to do that with radio programs and all that. But for the sake of people who are listening for this call, protect your PIN. I always ask people to clear their cache if you have a smartphone, because we don't understand, we all don't know how many, we don't control how many websites you visit. And sometimes we accept malware into our phones that can either attack your card when you're doing a transaction. When it comes to mobile money, if you're using an app, there are different layers of security. Make sure the app you're using has SSL protection. That it's a security socket layer. How do you know it is? You will see a small padlock on the website on top. If you click on it, it will tell you if the website is secure or not. You can actually, if you double click, you'll also be able to see if the security certificate has expired or still valid. But the most common thing is, if you lose your ID, if you've misplaced your PIN, make sure you reset it. If you don't know where your ID is, please declare it to anyone that you know in MTN or Airtel. If you have a smartphone, clear your cache. Make sure you're visiting secured websites. I think that's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you. I would like to just reiterate to the people who are here to just just raise your questions in the chat and we'll answer them, or just put them in the Q&A box, which the guest panelists will be sure to answer them. My next question is to you, Deborah. We were looking at mobile money, but we definitely have to also look at banking in terms of, online transactions, banking, and cyber attacks in this field. And you're here in your capacity as cybersecurity manager at Equity Bank Rwanda. My question to you is, what advice would you give to customers when it comes to protecting themselves against cyber fraud, which directly targets digital and online transactions? Over to you, Rosemary.
Thank you very much, Dana. I think most of the points that have been raised by my colleagues, but as a part of a banking sector, we all have online shopping and online transactions. So
I think we lost you. I thought it was only me. I think it's breaking.
The same. So from our customers, cyberspace, where we all connect, is the area of everyone is connecting to whoever is connecting to the network. So the people should understand the cyberspace is opposite of a physical area that we have. As we go to our physical environment, we protect ourselves, we lock our doors, we use different mechanisms of protecting our physical environment. So it has to be applied also to the cyberspace where we are connecting, when we are doing a transaction, or when we are doing any other related transactions. If I go to the statistics, maybe could just highlight few. Most of things that happen, like an organization lost their data through the 60% of organization, they lost data. That is mostly come from the phishing. Phishing is an email that comes to your email, your inbox, looks like legitimate, which has maybe a link to click on, or attachment to open. So phishing emails, something that our client could focus on, basically to know if these things that are coming to your email is genuine, or it is coming from someone that you don't know. You first cross-check. So the phishing is the most thing that attracting our clients. So the 60% of organization, they lost their data. 52% of organization had credentials or account compromised, and 47% of organization were infected with ransomware, and 29% of organization were infected with malware. So 19% of organization experiencing financial loss. So this kind of loss that happen when people received a phishing email. So for our client, or for the sake of the people that are listening to us, I could just suggest that they always has to be clear about email they're receiving, something attracting them. You have received this kind of like a bonus, you're being promoted, you want this. Maybe we are going to the festival season, where they receive like a gift for the festival. That is kind of attracting people. So if people are being attracted in that way, they they receiving through their emails. So another point apart being phishing, also you have to protect your card. Hold your card as you hold your money. You cannot move around the road while your money is exposed. If you have money in your bag, you make sure that your bag is safe. So then if you have your card, your credit card or your debit card. Keep it safe. Don't express it anywhere, because when I come and I find it, if I take a picture of your card in both sides, I will be able to transact without your concern. I may transact as you're transacting yourself. So protect your card as you protect your money. Don't misplace it. Don't just feel that it is a card and you just leave it. You're shopping online. My colleague said that you could check the genuine link where you are shopping, but I want to highlight one thing. When you're shopping, don't save your card number. Mostly people, they have a habit of saving. Like if you shop, then you click save for easier shopping for the next time. So if you're going to the link and you save your information, it is risky. So if you shop, clean and leave the site that you're shopping in from. So don't save it. Don't save your number. Don't save your card, so that for next time you easily be shopping. Another thing that I wanted to also mention, if you check an app to download in your phone, also check the percentage of people have downloaded this app. If you find a few people have downloaded, just suspect that app. At least see how current people have downloaded the app, and then double check the genuinity of the app that you're going to download. Also, another point to highlight is if you could have an antivirus in your machine or in your phone, it will help you as well. Because when you click on a malicious link, at least your antivirus that you have in your device will notify you. Will tell you that this malicious link you're going to access. Having an antivirus as another point that will help you. Also, you can consider that. I think just to mention a few, we could have that, but also bear in mind that don't be attracted by any other things that are promising you, if there are promised things that are coming into your email, a gift, something like that. Even if it comes as from a genuine person, a genuine email, you cross check. However much the banker could protect your information, you should also play your role to manage and to be clear of where you're going, the link you're visiting, where you're clicking. So we have a habit of saying, think before you click. So
Absolutely.
people, they do otherwise. People do otherwise. They click and then they started, oh, wow, what have I done? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosemary. I am so guilty of saving my card payments online when I'm shopping online. I need to stop saving. And you're right, it's just for convenience. So next time I go to the same website, my card details are there. So I'm going to be unsaving. Thanks for that advice, Rosemary. My next question goes to Deborah. Deborah, you're here representing the Central Bank of Rwanda. There's no way we could have this discussion without the Central Bank of Rwanda because it's charged with, sort of regulatory standards that are put in place when it comes to online transactions in Rwanda, as well as digital transactions in the country. And Rosemary, my question to you really is quite simple. If you could just share with us how the Central Bank of Rwanda works with institutions, especially those in the private sector that focus on digital and online payments. How do you work with these institutions in the private sector to ensure safety standards are put in place to protect customers? Over to you, Rosemary. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Just before I answer the question, maybe I will make a comment on what you said about saving your card numbers. In the security world, they say that convenience and security don't go hand in hand. So every time something is very convenient or you're tending towards convenience, just know you're going farther away from security. So that's just a note I just wanted to put in there. Thank you, everybody, all my colleagues who have been sharing your insights before me. I agree with all of you, and this just goes to say that the threat landscape is huge and it's growing daily. As the Rwandan government keeps on pushing the cashless economy and financial inclusion, we have also noticed that many financial institutions are being targeted. It's really sad, but the financial sector nowadays has become synonymous with the word cybercrime. So, I mean, it makes sense because it's all about the money and that's what is being targeted. But at the central bank, our mandate is to ensure a sound financial system, and the whole ecosystem includes every single bank, every single microfinance, insurances, and MNOs. And we have put in place a number of strategies in order to guide these financial institutions. And like you mentioned, as Diana was alluding to, one of the strategies of the first is a regulatory framework. So here we subject institutions to certain requirements, restrictions, policies, procedures, and standards, with which we kind of handhold them. So we do not just regulate them for the sake of regulation, but rather to make sure that holistically the whole sector is sound and secure, and that they're building robust and resilient infrastructure. So the first regulation that I really want to point out is the regulation on cybersecurity. And this regulation stipulates very many controls that have to be put in place. And maybe if I could mention just a few, we require that every single financial institution carries out various tests to make sure that all their systems are secure. You might have heard of vulnerability assessments. Every single institution has to carry out at least 2 every year, and at least 1 penetration test. We make sure that they have a disaster recovery site, which means they have another site that has a backup database, a backup with which if their headquarters have had any kind of disaster or attack and they cannot access that they can immediately switch over to the disaster recovery site, and the people will still have the services, the financial services that they require. There's so many other technical controls that I will not get into, but this is one of the major regulations that we have put in place at the central bank, in addition to other directives, guidelines, and international best standards. So as we are on the regulatory framework, how do we make sure that the financial institutions actually comply with it? We carry out on-site inspections where we kind of make visits. They are not surprise visits, they are planned. And for every single institution, we have members of a staff from the central bank who go there and do the tests themselves, receive reports, carry out interviews, and just make sure the institutions are where they're supposed to be and that their internal control systems, their access controls are all in place, just to make sure that the security of the depositors are intact. Another thing we have put in place is a fraud forum. As you know, fraud cases increase every year. One of the leading attacks that we have seen, or one of the challenges we face, are fraud cases. So this fraud forum helps in just getting the conversation rolling and reporting cases and finding ways to mitigate them. So this is a discussion that's between the Rwanda Bankers Association, the central bank staff, and the Rwanda Investigation Bureau. And they meet every quarter. They discuss what has happened within that quarter. And after these fraud cases have been analyzed, they put measures so that in the coming months or years, this would not happen again. Another thing that is done is partnering with other institutions. As you all know, we just concluded, October of this year was Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So BNR also took part of that. in collaboration with the National Cybersecurity Authority and RISA. So what happened is we had talks just like this on television and on radio and on our website and different social media platforms where we put out messages so that the public are aware of what threats are out there, what attacks they could fall prey to, and different tips on how to stay safe online, how to transact safely. And the most exciting thing that we're actually engaging in right now is a project called the FinSOC, the Financial Security Operations Center. It is not yet operational, but it is it's a project that has started. And just like we have the national SOC, this will be for the entire financial sector, where we'll be able to have clear visibility of what is happening on all their systems, on any of their attacks, so that because on a monthly basis, or even when the need arises, every single institute is required to report and to disclose to us the attacks that they have faced, those that have been successful, those that have not been successful. And as I said before, we are trying to handhold them and help them, guide them. They're supposed to have monitoring tools, monitoring systems, but truth be told, some of these institutes are very small and they do not actually have the adequate resources to be able to get these expensive tools that we require. So it would be a very helpful thing to have the visibility for the entire sector, to have this financial SOC and have it consolidated in one place and be able to respond. Because as you know, again, in the cybersecurity space, we say it's not about when you'll be attacked. I mean, if you'll be attacked, it's a matter of when. And then when it happens, how prepared are you? How resilient are your systems? So we're just trying to be proactive in that sense. And we are very excited actually to see this come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. Well said. Well said. We have some questions that are coming in, and I would like to read them and then hand over to our panelists to respond to. So the first question is one from Colin Zamadi, who says, "How can one identify a phishing email?" The second question is to Rosemary from an anonymous attendee. This person says, "My question to Rosemary is, what if an insider threat occurs in a certain company and the one behind it asks the client for some information regarding his or her bank details, and as a client you found that the email is legitimate? What do you do to protect the client? Thank you." Quite an interesting question from Anonymous. It's a threat occurs inside a certain company and the one behind it asks the client for some information regarding his or her bank details, and the person is a legitimate employee, for instance, of the bank. How do you protect the client? That's a question from him. And then we have another question coming in from, just one second, in the chat box. It's from Robert. I think everyone can see it. He says, "As a web developer, I'd like to know what is my ability when there are fraudulent transactions of an e-commerce platform that I've helped build for a client. I did implement online payments for a client in a neighboring country, and it later turned out that the site owners were transacting with credit cards bought off the dark web." Interesting question from Robert, and sorry about that, Robert. So I would like to kick off with the question to Rosemary, following the question on phishing, and then the question from Robert to all. Rosemary, I'll start with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, team, for the questions. I'll be starting with what do I know? How could I identify the phishing email? So a phishing email is a kind of email. Mostly it could even come in a name of a person you think you know, or like you consider it as like a genuine email. But from the point of analyzing to see what could be, what if it this is a phishing email on all genuine email, the first thing is to check. Most of the phishing email come in as an urgent action. They ask you to do very fast. You know, we need these things urgently. If it's a payment, this payment has to be done urgently. There's something that urgent in that email. Another point that you can identify the phishing email is bad grammar or spelling. You may find that there is some mistakes or mixed of capital letters and smaller letters. You find there is a grammar problem in that email. The next thing is an familiar greetings, you know, Sali, hi, something like just tricking you as pretending to be friendly, but is not known. So these are kind of you can just check in. You check the domain of that email. If a domain of the email is related maybe to an organization, it has mostly a link to click on for more details. It has all maybe attachment that could be a malicious attachment. And when you log in, they may ask you your credentials. Mostly they are asking you your details, your data information. So basically, that is how you can just know the phishing email.
I think Rosemary is frozen, or is it my connection?
Yeah. No, she's frozen. You also lost her.
Oh dear.
Maybe my colleague here.
Oh, she's back.
Sorry,
you were frozen for you had frozen for a bit, Rosemary.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, but I think we got the explanation for phishing. The other question, I don't know who would like to respond to it, was with regards to, you know, you find out that the person actually works for that company and they're requesting your details. What do you do? How do you protect the client?
Okay.
Maybe I can comment to that.
So
if it happens, okay.
About from the inside the threat.
Hello, I think Rosemary, let's just allow Christia to answer that question.
Okay.
Thank you, Rosemary, for the good answer. Well, if someone for the company, to answer your question, Diana, if someone from the company ask you anything, please, I think the best way is to ask them, can you put that on email, whatever request that you're asking me, and can you copy at least one of the employee? And if you know any other person, ask them to do a maker checker, try to confirm if that request is actually genuine, because it's prohibited that an employee would ask you for your personal PIN. Actually, in Rwanda, with a new law that was passed on 15th October on data protection, it forces individual to consent to any data processing or data controlling of any entity that is owning KYC data. So it's actually prohibited for any employee of an organization that is a data processor or a data controller to request for PIN or details related to a customer.
Thank you very much, Christia.
Welcome.
Now, this very interesting question from Robert. Sorry, before we get to that, Deborah, you raised your hand. Would you like to say something, Deborah?
Yes, thank you, Dana. I actually wanted to address the question from Robert, so I don't know if I may proceed.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. If I understand well your question, Robert, basically it was a fraudulent transaction, but it was by the e-commerce platform or in the neighboring country, something like that. I just wanted to mention something about the cybercrime law. I don't know if you're aware, but in Rwanda, we have a cybercrime law where if you read properly, you find that there is clauses that protect you as a consumer. There's also the consumer protection law. So you have two laws that are on your side. So the cybercrime law protects you. It's about the prevention and the prosecution of crimes that are committed in the cyberspace. Now, in this case, being that it was in another country and it's another jurisdiction, I really don't know. You might have to consult actual lawyers, but I just wanted to let you know that you are protected in this regard in the by the consumer protection law and the cybercrime law. And if maybe I'd also give my comment on the previously mentioned questions, especially on the phishing emails. As my colleagues alluded to, in this festive season, we all receive offers and sales, and everything is a ridiculous offer that you feel is too good to be true. And usually if something is too good to be true, that's just the way it is. Just don't take it at face value. If somebody's claiming to be a prince of somewhere and wants to give you a huge amount of money, then it is obviously not true. So just be cyber smart and don't take things at face value. Have zero trust and test everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, is there something you'd like to
Someone from the Zamunda kingdom that wants to give you 10 trillion USD.
Exactly. Sarah, is there something you'd like to add?
No, I was just agreeing with what Deborah was saying. It's the very old saying, which is so accurate. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And that goes across the board online, you know, whether you're looking at buying something on a website or seeing something on Facebook. It's that, yeah, that take heed of that advice. It's really, really good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Rosemary, you were saying something, but we kind of got cut off because of the connection. I don't know if you wanted to just reiterate a couple of things you were saying earlier on.
Okay, thank you. Then I just wanted to answer on the anonymous question that he has said about insider threat. So as an organization, we protect the client data, and when someone else is sharing a customer data outside, that means if you share the data that is not to an authorized person in the organization, it is prohibited, and we have a control in a place. And even if the email goes as a genuine email, but we track what goes outside the organization, and then when we found that that information that was shared was not supposed to be shared, so we that staff has to be questioned about the action that he has done, so that even the next person may not do it. So we don't allow a staff to share the client information. Even if you want maybe your account statement, you come yourself and request. So you cannot send someone to request your bank statement. We don't do it. So for the customers, we care for their information and we protect the information. So the inside for the staff, they also know they are not allowed to share the customer information from outsiders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. I think these are the only questions that we have coming in from Robert, and the two other questions in phishing and accounts. I would just like to now give closing remarks, give an opportunity for our guests to share closing remarks. You know, Deborah, you said it very well that you know, it's just on the increase every day. Cyber fraud, especially when it comes to the space, the digital and online transaction space, and Rwanda is definitely not immune to this. In fact, if you'll just allow me to read very quickly before we close, I found these numbers quite, it was quite sobering. So statistics from the central bank show that between January and September 2020, 141 cyber fraud cases were reported with 371 million francs involved. Around 89 million was recovered, but 280 million went unrecovered. So this is just last year, and I'm sure this is also, the pandemic probably also played a role in this, because people really now rely more on online transactions and digital payments, that sort of thing. So just closing remarks on how people can keep themselves safe in this couple of months during the festive season, but also in general, when it comes to their money, when it comes to transacting online, or making digital payments. And I'll kick off with you, Sarah, Deborah, Rosemary, and finally, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you to all the panelists. I think it's been a really interesting discussion, and it's so useful to hear, different perspectives. I think, as Diana says, yes, we're making lots of online payments at the moment, but actually this goes, all the advice is here for the whole year. And I think whenever you're making an online payment, wherever it's for, just stop, think, is there anything you should be wary of? Are you 100% comfortable with this payment? Is it fine? And then proceed. It's just almost taking a pause, thinking, trusting what you're doing, and then making the payment. And if you feel unsure about anything, we'll just do the right checks before pressing that button and sending that money. And so that would be our closing advice here. And thank you very much. Thanks, Diana.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Yes, Deborah.
Yes, I would just like to speak on social engineering, because I find that this is one of the most common forms of attack, specifically here in Rwanda, because many people are very shocked when somebody has hacked their email or found their credentials. They're always like, how did somebody figure out what my password is? But it's actually not as difficult as we think. Most of us are in the habit of setting very weak passwords. If you have any sort of personal information in your password, just know that through social engineering, through your social media platforms, it's very possible for one to find out what your password is. So don't take it lightly. Try and use passphrases. That is just one hint I would give. And also, when we say just don't click on just anything, we think what's there to lose. But this is the easiest way for ransomware attacks, because it's through phishing mail that ransomware attacks are implemented. And it's not just for you, it's for everybody on the same network as you. So if you are in an institution, you're putting everybody in that institution at risk. So my parting words would be, like Sarah said, think before you click. And it's not just about you, it's about everybody on the same network as you. And please try and use strong passwords. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Over to you, Rosemary.
Thank you very much, Dana. So in my conclusion, people could be clear when they are on cyberspace, when they are transacting, when they are surfing on the internet. So they have to be clear. The same way they protect themselves physically, they also should also be clear about online activities. So in the cyberspace, we have the bad and goods. So we mostly focus on goods. We forget that we have bads. So we have to be clear, and also have to protect ourselves and protect our nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Christian.
Thank you. I don't know if you can notice I'm the only gent among ladies. So it's such an honor and a pleasure. And I was actually impressed that the cybersecurity space is mostly female dominant. I think it's something all innovation. Congrats. Well done, Sarah, Rosemary, Deborah. And Diana MC, I didn't know you know such amount of knowledge on cybersecurity. We only know you for news anchor and the remaining MC. Well, to put my comment, I think the PIN, for when it comes to mobile money, your PIN is your biggest asset. Taking consideration that we still dominate on USSD, and mentioning that USSD is still vulnerable for encryptions reasons that I mentioned. However, that said doesn't mean that on smartphone we don't have also fraudulent behavior or vulnerabilities. That's one. The same PIN is applied for merchants when they use MomoPay. We have had cases where people, they give their PIN to their employees and they don't control these transactions. And they come to blame us. I'm seeing suspicious transaction, like, who has your PIN? Say, two of my staff, but I trust them. And then we realize, actually, yesterday I met someone in the corridor. His nephew managed to withdraw for a period of 2 months, 7 million Rwandan francs. And he's literate. He understood that it was his mistake. He trusted them too much. So what we normally do, if you own a business, keep your PIN. Only delegate when you know what is at stake with you. So yeah, our systems, yes, the same way we invest amount of time to be compliant with our regulator, with global compliance when it comes to data protection and all that. We also have people that invest huge amount of money to find malicious way or to identify gaps in our system. So we really need to be inquisitive and very suspicious whenever you see something that I'll borrow words from Deborah, when it's too good to be true. That's the best way to always safeguard yourself. Thank you. Thank you again, Diana, for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Christia. Yes, the only gentleman in the room. And it's good to see a lot of women in cybersecurity, so I echo your sentiments on that. We've come to the end of the discussion. And I'm glad that we've managed to keep time. I would like to thank the participants for their very interesting questions. And I would also like to thank the panelists for their very, very insightful, informative contributions to this discussion. We're going to upload this video on the Get Safe Online YouTube channel. We'll also share it on all our social media platforms. And with that said, I'd like to wish you a very good weekend. Thank you so much for being part of this webinar. Thank you very, very much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Diana.
Bye.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.